Over 30 years have passed since the 1990s began. How old does that make you feel? The internet barely worked. The fashion was honestly bonkers, but we thought it looked deadly. Music came on CD singles you bought religiously every Monday. Can you even remember what it felt like waiting for a web page to load over those annoying dial-up sounds? These forgotten things from 1990s, Britain shaped everything about growing up back then. Trouble is, about 100 of them have just vanished, and we barely noticed they'd gone. Blockbuster Video absolutely dominated the 1990s British high street with hundreds of blue and yellow stores. Every Friday night, families trekked down, hoping the new release shelves weren't completely empty. Late return fees were notoriously brutal at around £1.50 per day, causing genuine household arguments. The chain eventually collapsed in 2013 when streaming services made the entire concept genuinely obsolete. Now, speaking of 90s essentials, can you remember the toy pet that died in your school bag? Tamagotchis arrived in Britain in 1997, sparking absolute playground chaos across primary schools. These egg-shaped digital pets needed feeding, cleaning, and attention, or they'd die from neglect. Schools banned them within months because children couldn't concentrate on lessons properly anymore. Each one cost around £10, but the emotional investment children put in was genuinely enormous. Speaking of digital pets, do you remember the football tournament that broke the nation? Euro 96 took place in England during June 1996, creating the most genuinely euphoric summer ever. Three Lions by Baddiel, Skinner and the Lightning Seeds became the unofficial national anthem. England's defeat to Germany on penalties in the semi-final broke the entire nation. The tournament's football's coming home optimism defined an entire summer for everyone watching. Heading into the mid-90s, here's the music phenomenon that defined British pop. Britpop dominated British music from 1994 to 1997, with Oasis and Blur leading the charge. The famous chart battle between Roll With It and Country House in August 1995 captured everyone's attention. Blur won that battle, but Oasis won the war with Morning Glory selling 22 million copies. The movement represented genuine British cultural confidence not seen since the 1960s. Some of you might remember Britpop, but do you remember the toy craze that swept playgrounds? Pogs invaded British schools around 1995, creating the most baffling playground craze of the decade. These small cardboard discs were slammed with heavier metal slammers to flip opponents' Pogs. Schools banned them everywhere because children were essentially gambling with valuable collectible discs. The craze died as suddenly as it arrived, leaving everyone wondering what the point was. Here's something that defined Sunday afternoons throughout the entire decade beautifully. The Sunday Top 40 chart show was absolutely essential listening throughout the 1990s for British teenagers. Mark Goodyear hosted on Radio 1 with millions hovering over the record button on cassette players. The whole nation discovered together at 6:55 p.m. who reached number one each week. The countdown ritual collapsed when downloads arrived, making the singles chart genuinely meaningless eventually. Moving from radio rituals, this sweet came in tubes you had to twist. Spangles made a brief 1990s comeback before disappearing again forever, creating genuine nostalgia confusion. These square-boiled sweets were relaunched in 1995, attempting to capture 70s nostalgia market. The relaunch flopped despite massive advertising because the original recipe had genuinely changed. Mars discontinued them again within 2 years, proving you genuinely can't recapture the past. Yet another sweet returned briefly before vanishing into corner shop memory again. The Texan Bar attempted a brief 1995 comeback through limited release, proving demand existed. The chocolate, nougat and toffee combination was just as jaw-breakingly chewy as the 70s original. The relaunch was discontinued within a year due to manufacturing complexities and limited distribution. The brief return reminded everyone exactly why they loved it in the first place. Shifting from sweets, this toy had grown adults camping outside Argos at Christmas. Furbies arrived in Britain in November 1998, causing absolute Christmas chaos in every toy shop. These talking, blinking creatures retailed at £30, but resellers charged hundreds in the run-up to Christmas. The Furbies allegedly learned English, while initially speaking made-up Furbish, creating fascination. They were eventually banned from the NSA building due to fears they recorded conversations. How about something that might genuinely test your memory from playgrounds everywhere? Yo-yo craze hit Britain hard in 1998, with a Yo-mega brain becoming absolutely essential equipment. These weren't your dad's yo-yos, but proper trick devices with ball-bearing axles costing £15. Children spent hours learning walk the dog around the world and sleeping beauty tricks. McDonald's gave away yo-yos, with Happy Meals making the craze even more enormous. Beyond spinning yo-yos, the trainers everyone desperately wanted dominated every playground. Reebok pumps launched in 1989 but dominated early 1990s playground status throughout Britain. The basketball-style trainers featured an actual pump on the tongue, inflating the fit around your ankle. They cost a genuinely shocking £80 to £100, making them aspirational rather than achievable. The pump did absolutely nothing useful, but the concept seemed impossibly futuristic at the time. A different trainer dominated the second half of the decade among serious connoisseurs. Adidas Gazelles became absolutely essential 1990s footwear, especially during the Britpop era. These suede trainers in blue, red or burgundy cost around £40 from JD Sports. The Gallagher brothers wore them constantly, making them genuine cultural artifacts of the era. They represented authentic indie credibility, unlike flashier American trainers from competitor brands. Every teenage girl read this magazine religiously, each and every week. Smash hits. Magazine dominated 1990s pop music coverage with its irreverent and brilliantly written approach. The fortnightly magazine featured song lyrics, poster pullouts, and the legendary black type column. Each issue cost around 95 pence and sold approximately 500,000 copies at its absolute peak. It closed in 2006 when the internet made magazine lyric printing completely obsolete eventually. On the magazine front, this one specifically targeted boys with football stickers. Shoot! Magazine was the football weekly every British boy bought religiously throughout the 1990s. The magazine featured player profiles, match reports, and the brilliant league ladders you'd update yourself. It cost around 70 pence and came with stickers or free gifts during football season. The magazine survived until 2008, when the internet made weekly football news genuinely pointless. Now for the television show that revolutionised Saturday mornings during the early 1990s. Live and Kicking ran on BBC One from 1993 to 2001, hosted by Andy Peters, Emma Forbes, then Zoe Ball. The 3-hour live show featured cartoons, music acts, competitions, and the iconic Gungy Tank. Phone-ins meant children could speak to celebrities, including their favourite pop stars, regularly. The show pulled around 4 million viewers weekly, making Saturday mornings absolutely essential viewing. Some of you will remember Live and Kicking, but what about its ITV competitor? SMTV Live launched in 1998, starring Ant and Dec, alongside Kat Deely, creating Saturday Morning Gold. The show featured wonky-donkey wordplay challenges, chum sketches, and proper musical guests every week. The presenters' genuine chemistry made it feel completely different from anything else on television. It ended in 2003, but launched the careers of presenters dominating British television today. Moving from children's TV, this sitcom defined British comedy throughout the decade. Men Behaving Badly ran from 1992 to 1998, starring Martin Clunes and Neil Morrissey perfectly. The lad culture sitcom about flatmates Gary and Tony defined 1990s British comedy. Episodes regularly pulled 18 million viewers, making it absolutely massive cultural phenomenon. The series captured the laddish 1990s perfectly before that culture began aging out gracefully. Over on BBC One, a sitcom defined the female perspective with absolute viciousness and brilliance. Absolutely Fabulous launched in 1992, starring Jennifer Saunders and Joanna Lumley as Edina and Patsy. The show featured chain-smoking, champagne-swilling fashion industry types, creating gloriously vile comedy. Sweetie, darling entered British vocabulary as a genuine catchphrase nobody could escape from. The show defined a particular type of 1990s female comedy that influenced everything afterwards. Cadbury launched a chocolate bar with distinctive wavy purple wrapping. Cadbury's Time Out launched in 1992 as a chocolate-covered wafer bar, competing against Kit Kat directly. The bar featured wavy chocolate layers with flake-style filling, creating distinctive textural experience throughout. Each twin pack cost around 30 pence, making them genuinely affordable lunchbox editions. The bar still technically exists, but has been reformulated multiple times, disappointing original fans. Cadbury also released a chocolate bar in 1994, with a cheeky tagline about not sharing. Cadbury's Boost dominated 1990s chocolate sales with its biscuit, caramel and chocolate combination perfectly. The charged with glucose tagline implied energy benefits that absolutely nobody actually believed. Each bar cost around 35 pence, making them affordable lunchtime essentials for school children. The bar still exists, but the formula has reportedly shrunk dramatically since its 1990s glory days. Kellogg's promised chocolate milk by breakfast time with this cereal magically. Cocoa Pops genuinely transformed British breakfast throughout the 1990s with their "I'd rather have a bowl of" campaign. The chocolate-flavoured Rice Puffs turned milk genuinely chocolate brown, which seemed miraculous to children. A 500-gram box cost around £1.80 and disappeared remarkably quickly in most households. The famous Coco the Monkey advertising appeared on every commercial break during children's programming. Over in the cereal aisle, this one had a frog mascot promising you'd be just right. Frosted Shreddies launched in 1990, sweetening the wholesome Shreddies brand for younger consumers. The traditional knitted Shreddies were given sugar coating, creating brand line extension genuinely successful. Each box cost around £1.50 from supermarkets, becoming proper breakfast staple. The advertising featuring knitting grannies became iconic 90s television advertising that everyone remembers. Time for the snack that ruled British school lunchboxes throughout the decade. Penguin biscuits dominated 1990s school lunchboxes with their distinctive jokes printed on the wrapper. Each pack of 8 cost around £1 from supermarkets, making them economical lunchbox editions. The chocolate-covered biscuit format remained essentially unchanged, but the jokes became weekly playground currency. McVitie's still manufactures penguins, but the jokes disappeared entirely, killing genuine playground discussions sadly. Some kids preferred the obvious chocolate-covered competitor with slightly thicker chocolate. Club biscuits competed with penguins throughout the 1990s with their distinctive purple foil wrappers. "If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club," became iconic advertising. Each multipack cost around £1.20, and the chocolate was noticeably thicker than Penguins Always. Jacobs still produces them, but they've shrunk dramatically since their 1990s heyday. Here's the drink that came in distinctive plastic bottles every child carried. Sunny Delight arrived in Britain in 1998, becoming the best-selling soft drink within 6 months. The orange-coloured drink contained barely any actual fruit juice, but was marketed as healthy. Each massive bottle cost around £1.20 from supermarkets, and children genuinely demanded it constantly. A health scare in 1999 about turning children orange destroyed sales virtually overnight forever. Panda Pops were those cheap fizzy drinks every 1990s school kid bought from corner shops. The distinctive Panda logoed bottles came in flavours like cola, cherryade and cream soda, costing 30 pence. Children would mix every available flavour together, creating absolutely disgusting combinations they'd dare each other drinking. The brand declined throughout the 2000s before disappearing from corner shop fridges entirely. Some of you might remember this drink that came in tiny barrels you'd stab. Bongo cartons absolutely dominated 1990s school lunchboxes with their unforgettable jingle about jungle animals. The 200ml cartons cost around 25 pence, and the straw piercing technique required genuine skill. The advertising jingle, Umbongo, they drink it in the Congo, became completely inescapable. The brand still exists, but in different packaging that just doesn't feel the same. Sega launched the console that started a genuine British gaming revolution. The Sega Mega Drive launched in Britain in 1990, igniting console wars throughout the entire decade. This 16-bit machine cost around £190, making it a genuine Christmas wishlist staple. Sonic the Hedgehog launched in 1991, becoming Sega's answer to Mario, completely transforming gaming. The Sega versus Nintendo playground arguments defined an entire generation of British schoolyard rivalries. Naturally, the rival console started absolute civil war in primary schools nationwide. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System arrived in Britain in 1992, costing around £150 initially. The 16-bit console featured genuinely brilliant titles, including Super Mario World and Street Fighter II. Children divided into Sega or Nintendo camps with absolute tribal loyalty defining playground politics. Nintendo's Play It Loud advertising campaign became iconic throughout the entire mid-1990s gaming era. Following the console wars, this handheld dominated long car journeys. The Game Boy Pocket launched in 1996 as a sleeker version of the original Game Boy. This smaller, lighter handheld cost around £45, making it an affordable Christmas gift everyone wanted. The screen was finally proper black and white rather than the original's green tint, thankfully. Tetris remained the killer app, though Pokémon arrived later, transforming portable gaming. When it comes to portable devices, this one tested every parent's patience. The Game.com handheld launched in 1997, attempting to compete with Game Boy and failing miserably. Tiger Electronics produced the device, which featured touchscreen technology that was genuinely ahead of its time. The screen quality was terrible, and game library was disappointing despite innovative features. The device disappeared within 2 years, becoming a genuine footnote in handheld gaming history. Onto the computer that arrived in every classroom across Britain. The Acorn Archimedes dominated British schools throughout the 1990s as the educational standard computer. Every primary school had at least one Archimedes running educational software like Granny's Garden constantly. The distinctive beige cases and chunky keyboards became absolutely synonymous with 1990s British education. Acorn collapsed in 1998, leaving schools scrambling to find replacement computers urgently. Sitting in the home office, this machine gathered dust and constant frustration. The Amstrad PCW word processor remained surprisingly popular in early 1990s British homes. Sir Alan Sugar's affordable computer cost around £400, making proper home computing accessible. The distinctive green screen monochrome display and dot matrix printer combination created definitively distinctive office aesthetic. Microsoft Windows eventually destroyed the PCW market completely by the mid-1990s decisively. Here's the technology that screeched its way into every British home. Dial-up internet arrived in British homes around 1995 through providers like AOL and CompuServe. The distinctive screeching modem sound became absolutely synonymous with logging on to the early internet. Connection speeds of 28.8K or 56K meant single web pages took genuine minutes to load. The phone line being constantly engaged caused real arguments in households throughout the entire decade. And of course, you couldn't have dial-up without those infamous free CDs. AOL CDs arrived through every British letterbox throughout the late 1990s, offering free internet hours. Households received dozens of these gold and red CDs, which inevitably became drink coasters. The free trial would auto-renew, creating genuine billing disputes nobody could be bothered fighting. AOL spent absolute fortunes on this marketing, creating the most successful direct mail campaign ever. Before Google completely existed, this search engine ruled the early internet. Ask Jeeves launched in 1996, letting users ask questions in natural English to a butler. The cartoon Jeeves character represented the search engine, giving it personality competitors completely lacked. The site dominated late 1990s searches before Google's algorithm proved fundamentally superior. Ask Jeeves still technically exists as Ask.com, but Jeeves himself was retired in 2006. Some of you spent hours on this website debating nothing of any consequence. Friends Reunited launched in 2000, so just outside the 1990s, but Geocities and chat rooms throughout late 90s served similar purposes. Yahoo Geocities hosted millions of personal websites with terrible design throughout the decade. The neighborhood-based site organization created genuine community feeling between strangers globally. The personal websites featuring MIDI files and animated GIFs defined 1990s internet aesthetics. This magazine taught a generation of Britons about computers properly. PC Format magazine taught a generation of Britons about computers throughout the 1990s effectively. The monthly publication cost around £4 and came with a CD-ROM containing demos and shareware. Articles assumed users had no technical knowledge, making computing accessible to absolute beginners. The magazine survived into the digital era, but eventually became obsolete as information became freely available. For younger readers, this magazine taught everyone how to actually use these strange machines. Computer Shopper was the absolute encyclopedia of 1990s British computing, weighing approximately a kilogram. This phone book-sized magazine cost around £4 and listed every computer component you could possibly buy. Hardcore enthusiasts treated it as essential reading for building proper custom computers. The magazine eventually became irrelevant when internet shopping made price comparison genuinely instant. Arriving from Denmark, this toy conquered Britain throughout the entire decade. Polly Pocket originated in Britain in 1989, but absolutely dominated playgrounds throughout the early 1990s. These tiny dolls lived inside compact playsets, fitting genuinely into your school blazer pocket. Each compact cost around £5, making them affordable pocket money treats for primary school girls. Mattel bought the brand and made the dolls bigger, ruining what made them special originally. Over in the girls' aisle, tiny ponies needed endless brushing with miniature plastic brushes. Sylvanian families dominated 1990s. British toy shops with their adorable furry animal families. These small flocked animals lived in elaborate Tudor houses, costing around £30 from Toys R Us. The attention to detail with miniature accessories made them genuinely premium collectible toys. Epoch still produces them, but they peaked culturally during the early to mid-1990s. Every boy desperately collected these action figures throughout the entire decade. WWF wrestling figures dominated 1990s boys' bedrooms with figures of Hulk Hogan, The Ultimate Warrior, and Bret Hart. Hasbro, and later Jakks Pacific, manufactured these articulated figures costing around £8 each. The accompanying wrestling ring playset cost £35 and saw absolute carnage during weekend playtime. The figures peaked during the Attitude Era, making the late 1990s brilliant for collectors. Boys preferred the action figure line involving military men climbing everything in the garden. Action Man underwent a 1990s revival featuring the famous Eagle eyes that moved sideways. The figures cost around £15 with accessories like helicopters and parachutes available separately mostly. The brand survived several relaunches throughout the decade as Hasbro experimented with various themes. Children would attach parachutes and throw figures from upstairs windows, testing flight capabilities scientifically. Here's the playground craze that vanished completely after one single summer. Crazy Bones invaded British playgrounds around 1996 with small plastic figures you'd flick at each other. These distinctive characters had names like General, Yum, and Sissy, creating proper collecting obsession. Each bag cost around £1 from newsagents, making them affordable pocket money treats. The craze peaked around 1998 before fading as Pokemon arrived, stealing playground attention entirely. When it comes to playground crazes, this involved cards you'd flick or swap. Pokemon cards invaded British schools in 1999, sparking absolute trading chaos in every playground. A first edition Charizard could fetch genuinely shocking prices even back then between school children. Booster packs cost around £2.50, making them affordable for pocket money purchases. Schools banned them within months because trading disputes regularly led to actual fights between former friends. Conquering British childhoods entirely, this video game franchise dominated everything. Pokemon Red and Blue launched in Britain in October 1999, selling out within hours nationwide. The Game Boy games cost £25 each, and the "Gotta Catch 'em all" tagline became inescapable. Playground link cable trading became absolutely essential to completing your Pokédex. The genuine cultural phenomenon dominated absolutely every aspect of British childhood entering the new millennium. Sticking with Game Boy, this colour version made everything seem futuristic. The Game Boy Color launched in Britain in November 1998, finally bringing colour to portable gaming. The handheld cost around £70 with backwards compatibility, playing original Game Boy games beautifully. The translucent purple and red shells became absolutely iconic playground accessories everywhere throughout. Pokemon Yellow, specifically designed for the colour, became the system's killer launch title. Beyond handhelds, this home console defined the late 1990s gaming era entirely. The Sony PlayStation launched in Britain in September 1995, fundamentally changing gaming demographics forever. The grey console cost £299 at launch, making it expensive, but worth every penny eventually. Games like Tomb Raider, Final Fantasy VII, and Gran Turismo defined an entire generation. The console sold over 100 million units worldwide, making Sony dominant gaming player overnight. Hoping to challenge PlayStation, this console arrived but never quite managed it. The Nintendo 64 arrived in Britain in March 1997 with the controversial three-handled controller everyone debated. The console cost £250 with launch title Super Mario 64, genuinely revolutionising 3D platforming gaming. GoldenEye 007 became the multiplayer game of the decade, hosted at countless British sleepovers. Cartridge-based games loaded instantly, but cost £50 each, making them genuinely expensive purchases. Let's move to the cartoon that absolutely dominated Saturday morning British television. Rugrats absolutely dominated Saturday morning Nickelodeon viewing throughout the entire 1990s in British households. The American import about Tommy Pickles and his baby friends became universal childhood viewing. The show ran for 172 episodes with 3 theatrical films during its peak. The accompanying merchandise from lunchboxes to t-shirts appeared throughout every British primary school. Saved by the Bell aired on BBC Two throughout the 1990s, becoming essential after-school viewing for teenagers. The American high school sitcom about Zach Morris and his Bayside High friends became culturally enormous. The show pulled millions of British teenagers despite being a relatively low-budget American import. The cast became massive celebrities, with Mark-Paul Gosselaar appearing on every teen magazine cover. Over on the BBC, this American import dominated weekday afternoons throughout the decade. Sister Sister aired on Trouble and CBBC throughout the 1990s, becoming hugely popular British teen viewing. The Maori Twins sitcom about separated identical twins reuniting created genuinely engaging family comedy. The show ran for 119 episodes, establishing the twins as proper celebrities in Britain too. The theme tune became absolutely iconic, with British teenagers still genuinely remembering every single word. Britain proved we could make brilliant teen drama too with this show. Biker Grove ran on BBC One from 1989 to 2006, with the 1990s being its absolute peak. The Newcastle-based youth club drama tackled genuine serious issues, including the infamous blinded paintball scene. The show launched Ant and Dec's careers when they played PJ and Duncan respectively. The show ended in 2006, but the 1990s era remains peak Biker Grove. Over on Channel 4, this breakfast show ruined Saturday mornings if you didn't watch. The Big Breakfast ran on Channel 4 from 1992 to 2002, revolutionising morning television. Chris Evans hosted the chaotic show from a converted lockkeeper's cottage in East London. The show featured Zig and Zag, the puppets that became genuine British celebrities. Channel 4 cancelled it in 2002, ending an era of genuinely anarchic British breakfast television. Competing for morning viewers, this show offered less chaos and more sofa-based discussion. GMTV launched in January 1993, dominating ITV's morning schedule throughout the entire 1990s consistently. Eamon Holmes and Anthea Turner became absolute household names through morning sofa interviews. The show featured Mr. Motivator's morning exercise segments that the entire country attempted briefly. GMTV survived until 2010, when ITV replaced it with the still-running Daybreak format. On the fitness front, this celebrity dominated 1990s British morning screens. Mr. Motivator absolutely dominated 1990s British morning television with his colourful lycra and infectious enthusiasm. Derek Evans became a genuine household name through his GMTV exercise segments. His exercise videos sold millions of copies, making him absolute fitness celebrity of decade. He represented genuinely positive, aspirational fitness before celebrity trainers became absolutely commonplace everywhere. From fitness to the soap that defined Australian imports throughout 1990s British television, Neighbours absolutely dominated. 1990s British afternoons with Ramsay Street becoming culturally essential viewing. The BBC One 5:35 p.m. slot pulled around 18 million viewers during Scott and Charlene's wedding. Kylie Minogue and Jason Donahue became massive stars, launching successful pop careers through the show. The show survived until 2022, but the 1990s remained its absolute British cultural peak. Across on ITV, an Australian soap competed for British attention with devoted teenage audiences. Home and Away aired on ITV throughout the 1990s, competing with Neighbours for British attention. Summer Bay residents created genuine teen heartthrobs that adorned millions of British bedroom walls. The show ran in the afternoon slot, pulling around 10 million British viewers consistently. The show still continues, but the 1990s era launched countless Australian acting careers properly, globally. Arriving from Switzerland, this chocolate bar conquered everything in sight. Cadbury's Dream launched in 2002, so just after 1990s, but white chocolate dominated. Bars like Milky Bar and Galaxy White exploded in popularity throughout 1990s British shops. The Milky Bar Kid advertising campaign with its cowboy theme became absolutely iconic. White chocolate represented sophisticated alternative to regular milk chocolate, making it genuinely aspirational. Cadbury combined biscuit with chocolate in genuinely revolutionary ways with this bar. The Cadbury's Twirl launched in 1986 but dominated 1990s lunchboxes everywhere across Britain. The flaky chocolate twin pack cost around 25 pence, making them affordable everyday treats. The crumbly, flake-like texture coated in milk chocolate created absolutely distinctive eating experience. The bar still exists, but the chocolate quality has reportedly declined since 1990s heyday. Here's the crisps that taste exactly like proper Sunday roast dinner. Walker's Roast Chicken. Crisps dominated 1990s school lunchboxes with their distinctive packaging. The flavour bore no actual resemblance to roast chicken, but was somehow genuinely delicious. Each packet cost around 25 pence from corner shops, making them lunchtime essentials universally. Walker's still produces them, but the recipe has reportedly changed, making them taste different. Competing fiercely with Walker's throughout the decade, this crisp brand had dedicated fans. KP Skips were prawn cocktail crisps that dissolved on your tongue like absolutely nothing else. These light melting crisps cost around 30 pence and tasted exactly like 1970s prawn cocktails. The bag would empty in approximately 12 seconds, creating genuinely unsatisfying crisp eating experience always. KP still produces Skips, but they've shrunk dramatically since their 1990s glory days. Time for the fast food that finally arrived properly in Britain throughout decade. Burger King expanded aggressively throughout Britain during the 1990s, competing properly against McDonald's. The Whopper meal cost around £3.50, making it slightly more expensive, but considered superior. The flame-grilled approach genuinely differentiated them from McDonald's frying technique throughout decade. The chain became proper rival, establishing itself permanently on British high streets by decade's end. Promising to change British dining forever, this American chain brought pizza to high streets. Pizza Hut expanded massively throughout 1990s, Britain becoming the absolute pizza chain of choice. The famous all-you-can-eat lunch buffet cost around £5, representing genuine British lunchtime sensation. The salad bar with its bottomless icebergs and croutons defined 1990s dining experiences. The chain remains today, but the buffet experience has been dramatically reduced, sadly. On the British takeaway front, this revolution changed everything completely. Chicken Cottage emerged throughout the 1990s as Britain's halal chicken alternative to KFC. The chain operated dozens of locations across London and major cities with cheaper prices significantly. A meal cost around £3, making it absolutely affordable late-night student dining. The brand still operates but never achieved the massive expansion that 1990s growth suggested possible. Bringing American Southern flavors to British high streets, this chicken chain became massive. KFC's Twister Wrap launched in 1996, becoming absolutely defining 1990s fast food item. The wrap combined fried chicken, lettuce and sauce in tortilla, creating massive teenage demand. Each twister cost around £2, making it affordable lunchtime option everywhere across Britain throughout. KFC still produces variations, but the original 1990s twister recipe has changed dramatically. onto the high street shop where everyone bought their music religiously. Virgin megastores absolutely dominated 1990s British music retail with massive flagship stores in every city. The Oxford Street store remained a genuine destination for music fans throughout the entire decade. CD singles cost around £2, with albums costing approximately £14, making music genuinely accessible. The chain eventually became Zavvi in 2007 before collapsing completely, showing high street music retail decline. Specializing in genuine indie credibility, this music retailer dominated throughout the decade. HMV reached absolute peak during the 1990s with hundreds of stores across British high streets. The famous dog and gramophone branding became genuinely synonymous with music retail. The flagship Oxford Street store sold music, films and games, making it absolute destination. The chain survives today but has dramatically shrunk since its absolute 1990s retail dominance. Inside teenage bedrooms, this technology played those CDs on constant repeat. Stack hi-fi systems dominated 1990s teenage bedrooms with their massive amplifiers and speakers. Brands like Iwa, Technics and Sony produced systems costing around £400, representing genuine investment. The 3 CD changer functionality represented absolute cutting-edge technology throughout the entire decade. The systems gradually disappeared as digital music made physical formats genuinely obsolete by mid-2000s. Sitting in every teenage bedroom, the personal stereo turned everyone into wandering DJs. Discmans dominated 1990s personal music with portable CD players that genuinely changed everything. Sony's distinctive yellow sports models cost around £100, making them aspirational teenage purchases. The anti-skip protection of 10 seconds was famously insufficient, causing constant frustration. The devices eventually became obsolete when MP3 players arrived, making CDs genuinely portable. Finally, despite CD players arriving, cassette technology refused to die throughout the entire decade. Mixtapes remained absolutely essential. 1990s romantic gestures with carefully curated compilations recorded onto blank cassettes. Recording songs off the radio while praying the DJ didn't talk over intros required genuine skill. Each mixtape took absolute hours to create properly, making them genuine labor of love. The format died when CDs and later MP3s made personal compilations genuinely simple. Briefly competing before disappearing into format war history, this format had its moment. Minidisc launched in Britain in 1992, attempting to replace cassettes with digital optical technology. Sony's player cost around £400, making them genuinely expensive luxury items. The technology was superior, but the format never quite caught on commercially. Minidisc died around 2013, leaving devoted users with collections of genuinely beautifully recorded music, sadly. Throughout the entire decade, this magazine ruined teenage girls' confidence. More. Magazine launched in 1988 but absolutely dominated 1990s teenage girl readership across Britain. The notorious Position of the Fortnight feature created genuine moral panic among parents. Each issue cost around £1.50 and featured celebrity gossip, fashion and relationship advice consistently. The magazine survived until 2013, when print magazines became genuinely irrelevant for teenage girls. For the boys, this magazine offered similar relationship-focused content with added attitude. Loaded magazine launched in 1994, defining lad culture throughout the entire mid to late 1990s. The monthly magazine featured football, women, music and humour, creating completely new editorial format. Each issue cost around £2.50 and sold approximately 350,000 copies at absolute peak. The magazine declined throughout 2000s before closing in 2015, ending genuine lad culture era. France in 1998 hosted the football tournament that genuinely broke British hearts, France '98. World Cup featured David Beckham's red card destroying England's tournament hopes against Argentina. The 16-year-old Michael Owen's wonder goal against Argentina remains absolutely iconic football moment forever. ITV and BBC's split coverage created genuine viewer disputes about which channel provided superior commentary. The tournament's Vindaloo by Fat Les and Three Lions by Skinner and Badial dominated radio constantly. Fred Perry polo shirts dominated 1990s Britpop fashion with their distinctive laurel wreath logo. The shirts cost around £45, making them genuine investment pieces, representing absolute indie credibility. The mod revival throughout the early 1990s brought Fred Perry back into proper fashion. The brand survives today, but the 1990s represented its absolute peak British cultural relevance. Defining Britpop autumns, the Parker jacket became absolutely essential fashion wear. Parker jackets dominated mid-1990s British indie fashion, with the mod Target logo becoming absolutely iconic. The fishtail design with fur-lined hood represented genuine Britpop authenticity, costing around £80 from Burton's. Liam Gallagher made them absolutely essential fashion items for every aspiring indie kid. The jackets disappeared from mainstream fashion by 2000, but remained genuine collector's items thereafter. Taking British playgrounds by absolute storm, this casual fashion was inescapable. Kappa tracksuits dominated late 1990s casual fashion with the distinctive Omni logo of 2 figures. The poppers down each leg let you remove them dramatically over trainers, creating proper style. Each tracksuit cost around £60 from JD Sports, making them genuine status symbols. The brand declined dramatically in Britain by mid-2000s, though enjoying recent nostalgic resurgence. With 3 distinctive stripes, this sports brand defined late 1990s casual fashion. LS sportswear dominated 1990s British fashion before being completely overtaken by competitors. The Italian brand's tennis-inspired pieces became absolutely essential casual wear, costing around £40. Every British teenager wanted LS hoodies and tracksuit bottoms throughout the mid to late 1990s. The brand declined dramatically before recently enjoying genuine nostalgic comeback among style-conscious millennials. Moving on from sportswear, every 1990s girl owned dozens of these hair accessories. Butterfly hair clips dominated 1990s girls' hairstyles, with hundreds appearing in each head simultaneously. These small plastic clips cost around £2 for packs of 12 from Claire's Accessories. The technique involved creating elaborate patterns with multiple clips throughout half-up hairstyles. The trend disappeared completely by 2002, leaving millions of clips abandoned in bathroom drawers. Transforming British women into temporary fashion victims overnight, this hair accessory was inescapable. Crimping irons dominated 1990s, British bedrooms creating zigzag patterns in hair that looked genuinely ridiculous. These hair appliances cost around £15 from Argos and were absolutely essential pre-going out preparation. Schools didn't bother banning them because the look was so completely impractical for daily wear. The technique returned briefly during recent 90s nostalgia waves before disappearing again, completely thankfully. Moving from hair tools, this makeup brand dominated every Boots counter. Rimmel London absolutely dominated 1990s teenage makeup with affordable colours and the Kate Moss campaign. The brand's Get the London Look campaign became absolutely iconic throughout decade. Each lipstick cost around £3.50, making them affordable pocket money purchases consistently. The brand survives today, but the 1990s represented its absolute peak cultural relevance. Sprayed in absolute clouds, this body spray was essential teenage girl bathroom equipment. Charlie body spray dominated 1990s British teenage girl bathrooms with the distinctive red bottle. The spray cost around £4 from Boots and came in various scents like red and sweet. Every teenage girl carried a can in her school bag for between-lesson reapplication constantly. The brand survives but never quite achieved the cultural saturation of its 1990s peak. On the fragrance front, this men's deodorant overwhelmed every school changing room. Lynx Africa absolutely dominated 1990s teenage boys' bathrooms with overwhelming chemical fragrance. The deodorant cost around £2.50 from Boots and was applied in absolutely industrial quantities. Every school changing room reeked of Lynx Africa during the entire decade. Unilever still produces Lynx, but the original Africa scent has reportedly been reformulated significantly. On to the technology that transformed British communication forever throughout the decade. The Nokia 3210 launched in Britain in 1999, becoming the best-selling mobile phone ever globally. The phone featured Snake, customizable ringtones and changeable Express On covers costing around £20. The phone cost approximately £80 on pay-as-you-go, making mobile phones genuinely affordable. Nokia sold over 160 million 321s worldwide, making it absolute defining 1990s phone. Just before the millennium, the Nokia 5110 dominated late 1990s pockets everywhere. Pay as you go. Phones revolutionised British mobile communication throughout the late 1990s. Top-ups cost between £5 and £20 with vouchers purchased from corner shops. Receiving calls was free, but outgoing calls cost approximately 50 pence per minute. The format made mobiles accessible to teenagers and students who couldn't get contracts before. Beyond mobile phones, this cassette format wouldn't die throughout the decade. Singles on cassette dominated early 1990s music purchases, costing around £1.99 from Woolworths. The cassette single format was perfect for personal stereos before CDs became completely affordable. Each cassette contained the song plus extended mix or B-side track, creating value. The format disappeared by 1995 when CD singles became absolute standard British music format. Before CDs completely took over, this music format dominated the early 1990s. Vinyl singles remained surprisingly popular throughout early 1990s despite CD ascendancy. The 7-inch format cost around £1.99 from independent record shops throughout the country. DJ culture kept vinyl alive throughout the entire 1990s before complete digital takeover. The format eventually became collector's item before genuine vinyl revival starting around 2010. Kids loved this breakfast cereal featuring chocolate hoops everyone genuinely adored. Honey Nut Loops launched in Britain in 1991, becoming absolutely essential breakfast cereal. The Loops cost around £1.80 per box, and the toucan mascot became culturally iconic. The cereal contained massive amounts of sugar despite the honey marketing positioning, somehow successfully. Kellogg's still produces them, but the recipe has changed considerably since 1990s, glory days. Sitting in distinctive grey boxes, chocolate-coated Rice Puffs were essential breakfast cereal. Choco Krispies dominated 1990s British breakfasts before being renamed Cocoa Pops, creating genuine controversy. Each box cost around £2, making them affordable family breakfast option. Kellogg's renamed them in 1998, causing actual public referendums voting for original name return. The Chocolate Snap, Crackle and Pop mascots became absolutely iconic British cereal characters. Moving from cereal, this dessert arrived in plastic pots everyone fought over. Miller Corner yogurts arrived in Britain in 1987, but dominated 1990s lunchboxes. The yogurts, featuring separate compartments for fruit, chocolate chips, or crunch, became genuinely revolutionary. Each pot cost around 50 pence, making them affordable lunch editions everywhere across Britain throughout. Muller still produces them, but the corner sizes have shrunk dramatically since 1990s. Genuine. In distinctive plastic pots, this dessert came with chocolate sauce on top. Mini Milks dominated 1990s British school lunchboxes and corner shop freezers. These small ice lollies in strawberry, chocolate and banana flavours cost around 20 pence. The plastic packaging was notoriously difficult to remove without tearing, creating proper challenges. Walls still produces them, but they've shrunk considerably since absolute 1990s glory days. Let's move to the toy that combined collecting cards with strategic deck building. Top Trumps card games dominated 1990s. British playgrounds with themes from supercars to dinosaurs. Each deck cost around £2.50, making them affordable pocket money purchases for proper collectors. The strategic comparison gameplay created genuine playground tournaments during break times. The format survives today, but the 1990s represented its absolute peak playground cultural relevance. Becoming an international phenomenon, this card game arrived in late 1990s Britain. Magic? The Gathering arrived in Britain around 1994, becoming the absolute defining trading card game. Booster packs cost around £3 each, with starter decks costing approximately £10. The complex gameplay attracted serious players, creating proper tournament culture across British game shops. The format still exists, but the 1990s represented genuine cultural breakthrough for trading card games. Onto the toy that taught everyone how to genuinely care for nothing. Gigapets competed with Tamagotchis from 1997, with various character designs creating proper rivalry. These keychain digital pets cost around £8 from Argos, making them affordable alternatives throughout. The characters included dogs, cats and dinosaurs, offering more variety than Tamagotchi. The format disappeared by 2000 when proper handheld games made virtual pets seem genuinely primitive. Pulling a string from this creature made it genuinely vibrate and laugh. Tickle me. Elmo arrived in Britain at Christmas 1996, causing absolute toy shop chaos. The Sesame Street character would laugh when squeezed, creating genuine playground sensation. Original retail was £30, but Christmas resellers charged genuine hundreds, creating actual media coverage. The toy disappeared from cultural relevance by 1998, making it specifically 1996 cultural artifact. Time for the magazine that taught British kids about computers and games. Mean Machines magazine dominated 1990s British console gaming coverage with brilliant editorial irreverence. The magazine cost around £2.50 monthly and featured detailed reviews of every available console game. Editor Julian Rignall created proper gaming journalism that influenced an entire generation of British writers. The magazine eventually became Mean Machines Sega before disappearing as gaming media transformed throughout 2000s. For Nintendo enthusiasts, this magazine offered proper devotion and insider access. Nintendo Magazine System dominated British Nintendo coverage throughout the 1990s with proper insider access. The monthly magazine cost around £2.50 and provided detailed coverage of Nintendo systems exclusively. Each issue came with maps, tips and demos, making it essential for serious Nintendo gamers. The magazine eventually became Nintendo Official Magazine before closing in 2014 as print gaming media died. Heading towards the final items, this event genuinely shocked the entire nation. Princess Diana's death in August. 1997 created the most extraordinary national mourning experience. The Princess of Wales died in a Paris car crash, creating unprecedented British public grief. Millions queued in London to sign condolence books and lay flowers outside Kensington Palace. The funeral on September 6th was watched by approximately 2.5 billion people globally. And finally, the technological countdown that had everyone genuinely terrified throughout 1999. The Millennium Bug, or Y2K, terrified absolutely everyone throughout 1999 with predictions of total digital chaos. Experts predicted planes falling from skies, banks crashing, and electricity grids failing completely at midnight. The British government spent approximately £400 million preparing for potential disaster throughout 1999. Nothing actually happened, making the entire panic seem genuinely ridiculous in retrospect immediately afterwards. For more forgotten British culture, watch our video about 100 forgotten things from 1980s Britain. If you enjoyed this journey through forgotten Britain, you'll love 30 snacks that are normal in Britain but nowhere else. These 100 forgotten things from 1990s. Britain prove how completely our lives have transformed in barely 30 years. Some like dial-up internet screeching and crimped hair deserve to vanish completely, obviously. But the loss of Saturday morning television, proper Blockbuster trips and recording the top 40 onto cassette makes Britain slightly less interesting than it was. Thanks for watching.